I am here in Atlanta. We are a national builder, but as I said, I'm here with the Atlanta division. And I knew that Chris and Olivia and several, Dwayne, often come to this event. I've been saying, oh, I need to come. Fortunately, some of our meetings have been rescheduled, so I will. And the reason why I was interested in coming is Cobb County is one of our largest markets. We are now the largest builder in Cobb County after only being here for a year. But something that came to mind as Olivia was talking is that Twitter is a great equalizer. I may work for the third largest builder in the country, and don't get me wrong, we do have a national presence also, and this is where I'm very lucky. I work for a national company who supports my efforts. Our corporate account has 95,000 followers on Twitter, 85,000 on Facebook. Here locally, Olivia's group probably have more followers than I do. I have approximately 1,300. But she talked about the thought leader that she found. And I can tell you who mine was. It was somebody named Carol Flammer, who is with Flammer Public Relations and Irrelevance and Atlanta Real Estate Forum. I was very lucky. I had some downtime due to the weak economy. I had not started with Lennar at the time, and I got to investigate social media to a degree, both Twitter and Facebook. Carol is one of those people who, for my industry, was somebody I learned a lot from. To this day, I am now a client of hers. Not very much money, but it's a small account because we have posting privileges on her blog. But we share a lot of information. We introduce each other to people. She has picked up accounts from my company in other divisions. Somebody said networking. Think of Twitter as networking on steroids. Think of Twitter as public relations. If you're worried about what am I getting from this, go back to old style public relations. There are people that would charge you $2,000 to $3,000 to put out a press release. I never paid those people, but I've heard stories of them. I've seen their rate sheets. That's all Twitter is it is a new public relation. Now, and it is about connecting with the people. There is a networking event in a neighboring county that I went to, and it was horrible. People were attacking me. Who's your printer? Who does this for you? I mean, I'm trying to run for the door. Now, let's turn this around for a second. Where I've met several people in this room, Chris, Suzanne, Olivia, Lindsay, Dwayne, is they started a tweet up called Chirp Woodstock. We don't even build in Cherokee County or in Woodstock. We will. So at this point in time, we don't. I do live up there, and I have met them. None of us have done really business together yet, but all of us have become friends on Twitter, or Dwayne, you have to be on board, and Facebook. I mean, we all have mutual acquaintances who are of benefit to each other. And again, this is what Olivia said about finding your thought leaders. One of the early ones that all of them know is Brad Nix, who is the president of the Cherokee County Board of Realtors. He also is involved with Accrue Financial in Woodstock. He is also RE Tech South. That's someone I knew in real life, and I transferred into the Twitter sphere. We got a fantastic opportunity earlier this year to host a tweet up at their conference. It went gigantic. That was when Clout Scores, I don't know if anybody's talked about Clout Scores. That's when it's a ranking. Our Clout Scores went through the roof because we had people all throughout the Southeast talking about us. And that is kind of what put us on the map. But people will ask, okay, you're a builder. Who are you talking to? Okay, I'm not going to reach the average home buyer on Twitter. It's just not going to happen. But I talked to Lindsay, I talked to Olivia, I talked to Dwayne, There's Twitter streams are going across. It's building my brand. And that is what I want. I mean, Chris didn't know my last name. You'll notice it says Kevin, Lennar, Atlanta.
Yeah.
I mean, that's because she knows my brand better than me. And I tweet from behind a logo, which there's debates of if that's the right thing or wrong thing, and I can debate that one either way. I choose, because I am with the company, to tweet behind the brand. Now, depending upon what you're doing, someone, I'm going to say Olivia again, and also Lindsay, they tweet behind logos often, but they also have their own, because don't forget your personal brand. Now, if you are a single-owned business, it doesn't really matter. You are the brand. And this is something I neglect. I'm so busy, as Olivia said, she knew we were on Facebook together, but she never sees me there. She sees Lennar Atlanta. So if you are doing it on behalf of a business, think about remembering to build your personal brand so that you can transfer it. She was talking about keep it positive, keep it up. I am tweeting and Facebooking for a national corporation. I thought when I started, I was going to get this book of what I could say, what I could do. And I called and they said, oh, we don't care. They shouldn't have said that. I did push the boundaries a little bit, but first I experimented. Is this working? Is this working? I do keep it personal. I do talk about my homes. I do talk about, post the videos from my home. I do share other things. Dwayne and I were just talking about one. He posted a Facebook placard at the Huddle House. Well, I retweeted that. I'm not involved with the Huddle House, but it was something he posted that I thought was really cool. So it is about engagement. It's about broadening your base. Yes, it's only 1,300 people, but I've mentioned cloud. Maybe Chris will go into this in a future session. There is an element to that called amplification. If Wayne says something to his number of followers, and then I retweet it, and you retweet it, and you retweet it, the amplification just went up exponentially. Another thing people worry about with business, and I said, keep it positive. I've never made a negative post on purpose. Maybe it was sarcastic, and it might have come across that way, but that was an accident. I never discussed religion. I never discussed politics. Talk about pushing that boundary. I was out one afternoon, and I was at a certain restaurant, and I posted a picture of a margarita while I was there. Now, I work for a very passive-aggressive company. I was not told that was bad, but at a conference call about 10 days later, that was on the list of things. However, it was funny because then they did a corporate video, and as they were pulling things off the internet, one was me at an event with some of these people, drinks all in front of me. They weren't mine, but the corporation had found that. So yes, do keep it appropriate. As I saw on Olivia's videos, you know, what happens in Vegas stays on Twitter. What happens in Vegas stays on Facebook. But the one other thing I want to talk about is a lot of people with businesses are worried, what if we get customer complaints? Again, I'm working for a large national home builder. We have people under contract here. It happens. And I will tell you our policy. We deal with it. This is more of a Twitter issue, a Facebook issue than a Twitter issue. On Twitter, it goes away. And that's one of the things when she's talking about that third. People I follow, if I probably catch a quarter of what they're putting out, I'm lucky. But whether it's Facebook or Twitter, don't ignore the complaints. That will only grow them larger. We did have a psychotic customer in one of our communities who got on our Facebook page at 11:30 at night and asked a bizarre question, and depending on how you read it, it looked bad. 11:30 on a Saturday night, you know, come on, we're going to be open at 1 o'clock the next day. You know, this can't wait. It has to go on social media at 11:30. I responded the way I thought appropriate. I also got our corporate vice president of communications, sent her an email, got a response at 2 in the morning. No, you're handling it fine, keep on. It was recently talked about our company. On a national level, we get some of those, much more so than on the local level. And if you go on our Facebook page and go far enough, you'll find us. And you'll see we acknowledge them and deal with them. And our first thing is get them off of Facebook. Get them back in touch with us personally. Don't let it linger out there. So don't be scared of that. If you are running a good business, you don't need to worry. Now I will say, I'm going to use my business, my industry as an example. There is another national builder. And they are not, first of all, this actually goes more to Facebook. I have almost as many followers locally as they do nationally. And they are the #1 builder in the one or two in the country. You go on their Facebook wall, all you see are complaints. Not all, but mostly. And they haven't responded to them. It just looks like they don't care. So don't be scared of that, because I get a lot of people who say, oh, why would you do that? Oh my gosh, people could go on there and say, first of all, it's Twitter. It's on down the street. I'm not saying don't respond, but don't freak out. Other social media, respond.
I'm curious, besides your company's responses, do you know why that you have so many more followers than they do on the national level?
I do not have more followers than my company.
On the national, comparing apples to apples.
Comparing, our company compared to other national builders?
No, this one you're just talking about, you said they had a lot fewer national followers.
Than I do even locally. It's not a lot less, almost as many. I believe, now this is on Facebook. I'd have to pull the Twitter numbers. This is the #1 or 2 national builder in the country. And they have about 4,000 people on their national Facebook page. And I have 2,200 on my Atlanta Facebook page. So that's what I'm saying. Comparatively speaking, I'm real close.
I think because he was saying that he responds right away, and this other company doesn't. That's what I heard about him. He takes action. Whenever something's said, is they take action. And this national company just has a wall full of complaints and remarks, and nobody's doing anything. Nobody's responding back.
I understand, but also his national company must be doing something else to get people to sign up to Facebook that this other company's not doing.
Well, I wouldn't sign up.
Oh, one we're active.
I mean, that's right.
#1 is we're active. We post regularly. And that's whether it's my site here locally, or it's our national site, or it's that other builder. The other builder, for example, they'll put up industry news. Very boring for most people. We put up some industry news, but it's sprinkled in. Our Facebook page, nationally and locally, we put up pictures of the residents having a block party, which gets the residents involved. But aren't you much more likely to look at a picture than a link to a Wall Street Journal ad? The average person is. Now, there may be a different reason why you're using, and we do include the others, but it is consistency. There is no point in doing any of it unless you're consistent. And frankly, I'm up here speaking about this, and I've got a long list back of the office of things I should be doing, of how I should be doing it. A lot of what I'm doing, because frankly, in June of 2010, I was hired for this job. My official title is Internet New Home Consultant. I was hired to respond to the online leads from our website and all of our online sources for people interested in homes. Oh, and by the way, you'll be doing social media. The social media has grown so much that, am I implementing my social media program the way it should be? No. And if there's any, Livia, Chris, Suzanne, if you tell me you are, I'm going to call you a liar. There are so many ways to do it and so many things you can do, because even us at 90-something thousand followers nationally, we're not doing everything we could. And we don't have a large staff. That is basically one person handling most of that. Now, do they have an ad agency who can help them create things? Absolutely. but it's nothing that you can't find online. It will take the average person more time and research. Now, let me just finish one thing with her. I will add this. For Facebook, there's nothing comparable on Twitter. For Facebook, we do paid ads in order to draw people, and we do contests. However, I'll tell you what my budget was last month. I don't think anybody will get mad. Just don't tell them. We spent $800 as a division locally here. We spent $800 in Facebook ads to get people to like our page. We gained, the numbers came in last night, we tallied them. We gained 479 Facebook followers through that. So, can you spend money doing it? Absolutely. And Facebook has put some roadblocks up that make it harder. Twitter is still the wild kingdom when it comes to that. And we do contests also. That's all.
I just had a quick question. You mentioned Cloud Score. Could you talk a bit about
Oh boy.
It's not for this stuff.
That's a whole session.
I'm going to make it real short.
short.
There is a service out there that I was alerted to last March, and it is called Clout,
With a K.
with a K, KLOUT.com. At the time, I think it only did Twitter.
Yeah.
This was back in March. And what it does is it goes out and searches the Twitter sphere, and it basically checks how many people are talking about you. How many people are giving you mentions, how many people are giving you retweets. Since then, they've had it set up so that you can add your Facebook page. Originally, you could only add personal Facebook pages. Now you can add corporate Facebook pages. They've added Foursquare, which makes Wayne very happy. They've added YouTube and WordPress, Tumblr. There's some others that I'm not on.
Flickr
is on there. And what it does is they take all this information and they run it through and it comes up with a score. Don't get too hung up on it. It is something to look at. I look at it more, am I being consistent? We do use it within our company on a national level just to compare each other. But there was a big scandal about a week ago. They changed their formula. They thought, oh, the average person, their score won't change. I will tell you, probably everybody in this room went down 10 points who was on there. And so, who cares? We all went down, you know, especially when I checked the people in my corporation, and they'd all been, except for one person. I can't figure out how theirs went up. But it's one measure. Don't take it as a Bible. It is the one way to check kind of how your overall social media is doing.
Yeah, I have a quick question. You were telling us how you addressed a dissatisfied client.
Mm-hmm.
I had a client, and we've been in business for 15 years, it's only happened once. I thought the guy was going to literally pull out a gun and start shooting. He was not emotionally stable, to say the least, but you don't know that going into an original transaction. At 12:25 and at 12:43, that same night, because he was so dissatisfied, he pretended to be two different people and went on sites and just, you know, not threw us under the bus. I mean, he threw us out the bus.
Right.
So, I mean, was somebody that you are really frightened of, I mean, that they would come back and physically hurt you, how, anybody, how do you address, I mean, I just didn't know.
You delete the post and you ban it.
Yeah, well, it wasn't on Facebook, it was like on.
I know, in the social media world, and, you know, as a big company, we call a PR company, you know. But we have it, I mean, you know, again, we're a national company. I deal with this on a weekly basis. I get some, oh, I want to buy one of your homes, but I found complaints online. Well, I know exactly where they are. It's on something called Pissed Consumer. That's the one, if you put in Lennar complaints, that's the one that's going to come up. And it comes up about number 1 or 2. However, we've all been on there. There's not much we can do. But we know what's on there. Now, this is more of a social media reputation management issue than a Twitter or Facebook. We know what's on there. All of our sales representatives throughout Atlanta, I have let them know what's on there. And there are 3 basic things going on. One is, you may have heard of something called Chinese drywall. It was in Florida and Louisiana. Builders put it in houses. Nobody knew it was bad. It affected every builder. We were one of the builders. We were, however, so there's complaints on there. They put Chinese drywall in my house. Yes, we did. But we are also the only builder in the country who went back and remediated the houses, fixed them, and then we sued the drywall manufacturer. Everybody else, their builders said, you got to sue the drywall manufacturer. Secondly, there was a bombing range in Florida. You notice it keeps going back to Florida, but we have a very large presence there. We, along with two other large national builders, built homes on what it turns out had been a former Department of Defense bombing range. It did not show up in the chain of title because the Department of Defense had leased the property. They didn't own the property. And it didn't show up because in Florida, they only scraped down this far to build the foundation, but people started putting in swimming pools and digging deeper, and they started finding undetonated mines. We, along with the other builders, went in and cleaned it up. At the height of the building boom, we were building 50,000 homes a year. Do you think there were some things that went wrong? Absolutely. And then the other are miscellaneous complaints. And having been in the business, I can look at them and say, crazy customer. You know, some are people who just, you know, sometimes I'm sorry, our customers do just have a bad experience. We're off our game. Maybe we're not the right company to have met their expectations in the first place. We just don't know. But when you have a situation like hers, somebody said, call the police. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I did. I mean, yeah, while he was there, I did have to call the police.
When someone starts following you on your Facebook business page or your Twitter account, because unlike LinkedIn where it has to be a reciprocal acceptance, on Twitter it doesn't have to be that way. I was curious if do you ever take a very brief look, and you probably have so many that you don't have time, but sometimes I find people following me and I look at their profile or things that they've tweeted that, and I'm not a prude, I really am not, but I just find things that they tweet to be totally inappropriate, way out bizarre kind of stuff. And I've read once that you should probably block those people, and I don't know if I'm asking if you agree.
I'm not worried about blocking, but I do check them, every single one.
Okay.
Specifically, that's why I like the, Chris is going to talk about Hoot Suite, I have to be a tweet deck person. But I check it on my tweet deck on my phone. I check every person who follows me. Because first of all, if they're legit in any way, shape, or form, I don't have to follow them back. But there are a few key things. One is if you see somebody who has 9 followers, but 692 friends, that means they're following 692 people. And their picture's kind of, they're probably a spam. Don't follow them back. You'll never see their stuff. They're secret, and actually Twitter deletes those people periodically anyway.
And I got a triple X one the other day, and those are the only ones I block.
That's what I want, yeah.
Like everybody else, if they're a spammer, I let them follow me, and I just don't follow them back, because you never know, they might be legitimate one day and need you for something. But the triple X people that I'm like, block.
And those are real easy to spot.
That's what I was referring to. So,
And somebody had one other question. Quick. Over here.
You said in your paid Facebook ads that the numbers came back, you've got like 400 and something people who signed up. So do you have numbers that have where you can tell those people actually converted over into home buyers?
No. It's however, we do know our home buyers are on there. We do view it as a branding and marketing exercise. Just like you would a billboard or something like that. In the new home industry, even people who live people who walk in your door, finding out how they really found out about you is super tough. I'll take this back before social media, then Lindsay's got to come up. Our industry has always had a problem finding out where people came from. Classic example is I worked for a builder in North Cobb. This was back when the AJC was affordable and effective. I say affordable, it was never cheap, but we could afford it. And we'd run our ads, and our traffic would be good, but everybody would come in and say they found us because of signs. So the owner of the company said, pull your AJC ads, we're wasting money. My traffic would start going down. And what it was is that they had seen our ad. Now, it was not a direct call to action necessarily, where they got in the car and then drove there. But then when they saw our signs out there, it created that link.
So the ads on Facebook that you're running are basically just lead generation?
Our ads, we actually run two types, and I didn't even include the other because that's the same as any advertising. We spend $800 to get Facebook likes, because we feel if we get them on our page, they're going to see a constant. It's drip. You've always heard the term drip marketing. Very few people do it. To me, Facebook and Twitter are drip marketing. It's a long term.
Thank you.